You're listening to Bigfoot Club Podcast, cryptid sports entertainment for life.
Hey everybody, Bigfoot Bob. I'm here with my nephew, Sasquatch Steven. Sasquatch Steven, say what's up.
What's up?
This is season 7, episode 4.
Yep.
I'm super excited today. How about you?
Very excited. And if I'm not mistaken, you were very nervous.
I am very nervous right now.
Yeah, you're very nervous.
So I don't know. I almost feel like we're interviewing
Attila Caldi.
Attila Caldi. Because he was on TV.
Yeah. And that's how I felt when we interviewed Sean Warner.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah,
I still get nervous.
Yeah, I still get nervous about that too. So, how was your week? What's going on with you?
Week is great. Week is great, and the boys are good, and knock on wood. Everything's all hunky dory.
Yeah, same over here. I think I've been at my job over a month now.
Yep,
over a month, so.
And we're 3 episodes in of Daredevil Born Again.
Yes, we got to eventually talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to eventually, hopefully when we get the word on El Gato.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you move your arms like a robot?
I don't know.
Why do we say it like that? El Gato.
El Gato. I don't know. You came up with that. So.
Did I really?
Yep.
I don't rightly recollect.
Oh, well, I do. And so does the listeners.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
God dang, Robert over here talking about El Gato again.
You're not talking about the big feats.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be interviewing Monica Gallagher, cryptid artist and comic book artist and writer. So enjoy. Hey everybody, Bigfoot Club. We're here with Monica Gallagher. Monica, welcome to the club.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Hey, I want to tell you a quick story really, really quick. I'm not sure if you know my older brother, Richard Dominguez. He does El Gato Negro.
No, I don't, unfortunately.
So he does a comic book. And so he reached out to me and he says, hey, man, you need to have this lady on your podcast, Monica Gallagher. And I go, okay. So I looked you up and I go, oh my God, I love this artwork, this cryptid stuff. I love it. And so he knows what I like. And so he just reached out to me and says, hey, get her on. And I go, okay. He's not even a part of the podcast. He just like listens. And so he reached out to us and said, hey, get her on the show. And so I reached out to you. I said, hey, do you want to come on the Bigfoot Club podcast? And I know it took a couple of weeks for you to come on, but I'm glad, it's
finally happening.
It's finally happening.
It's finally happening.
Yes.
So, hey, I wanted to talk about comic books, but I wanted to talk about cryptids first because that's our whole theme is cryptid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
So, what got you started into cryptid? Like, going down this path? Because I was looking at, I've looked at a lot of your stuff, and you've gone by each state. I know you haven't got like to all the states.
Oh, I have now. Yeah.
Oh, have you really? Okay. So
I started branching out a little bit beyond the states. Yeah.
So what kind of got you started doing cryptids for every state?
Well, I started with Texas because that's where I live now, even though I'm from Maryland. But there was a local art show that was asking for material, and I wanted to explore. Well, and I listened to a ton of cryptid podcasts. Are we allowed to swear?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. We swear all the time.
Absolutely. We're unrestricted.
Yep.
I always have to ask that because I swear a lot. But
no, that's fine.
So I started with Texas, and then I kind of did a cursory search for cryptids in Texas, and a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, but some of them were wrong, which I realized later. But after I did Texas, I did a convention in Chicago. And so I did the cryptids of Illinois and Wisconsin and Michigan, all the ones that were nearby. And then I was like, well, why don't I just fucking do the rest of them? So it's been awesome. Yeah. Like just exploring. And I'm going to get stuff wrong. And I have gotten stuff wrong, and people have called me out for it, which is amazing. When people argue about cryptids, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah, they're pretty passionate about it.
Very passionate.
Yeah, it made me laugh when they were so passionate about the state boundaries for cryptids. I was like, cryptids don't know that shit. Like, they don't care.
That's true.
This is so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, do you go to each state and like, do you talk to researchers? Do you do your own research?
I do very minimal research, but yeah, so it was all on my own. It wasn't going to each state. I basically did it all on my own. And then when I go to a convention in a certain state, people will tell me stories. And that's the best thing ever, is when they tell me actual stories.
Those are the best. I mean, I go to a bunch of, Bigfoot conferences and paranormal conferences, and I don't even go to like to listen to the speakers. I just take a Zoom mic and I just go talk to people. And I say, hey, do you got any stories? And,
yes.
And people will just start talking.
That's the best.
So
like, that's what I want to hear all the time.
Yeah.
Especially if you go to Oklahoma.
Yes.
And, I don't know if I'm going to get called out for this, but this is what happened with us. If we go to Oklahoma and we bring Texas beer.
Yes.
My gosh, that is like gold.
Yeah.
Which
They'll be like,
beer though.
honestly, it doesn't matter. As long as it's from Texas, they'll be like, there's been a couple instances where we're like, hey, have you seen a Bigfoot on here? Man, I don't want to talk about that. And then they look and they're like, is that Texas beer?
Is that Texas beer?
And we're like, yeah. You want one? I'll tell you a story or two if you give me a Texas beer. Shoot. Go ahead. We'll go ahead and just take the 6-pack. Oh, shit. And they'll sit down with us and talk. But I thought that was pretty fun. That's our shoe in.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have stuff, Texas beer is one of them.
That's the bridging the gap.
Yep, that is the bridging. Yep,
That's the magic key.
Yep, it is the magic key.
So I know we have just met, but I used to be a Bigfoot researcher for like 20 years, and then I was then I was a case director for a paranormal group for 10 years. And when Steven was really little, I used to take him with me on outings, and we would go to meetings. And so he's technically not a researcher, but he's been with me a lot, and he's seen a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's had field experience.
Yes. So we've actually we've investigated, we've researched, we've looked at stuff, and from both sides, the cryptids and the paranormal side. So it's been a journey. So it's something that we're really passionate about, and then we don't research that much anymore per se. We're just like podcasters now. So
yeah, I guess we'll look up on like if there's any cases or sightings recently. But
yeah. Every now and then we'll get someone to reach out to us and needs help, but we always find somebody for them. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. I just want to. What's your favorite cryptid that you come across so far?
That's really hard because I've done so many. It's really it's really tough. I mean, Bigfoot is a big one, but there's so many like little weird random ones that are very specific, which I find like super charming per state. So there's every time I've asked anyone who their favorite cryptid is, they always say Mothman.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big one. But there's so many like local weird ones, and I got this book. I forget what it's called, but it's basically like stories about loggers in like the early 1900s, and they have a ton of different like bonkers cryptids that they saw in the woods that are just like, all of them were allergic to alcohol, and it was like, well, because the loggers are drunk, so like that was the way they like avoided them.
Well, I would be in trouble then.
Yeah.
Right.
Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah, but the more specific, the better. It's just because I've always thought that if someone sees something you believe them. It doesn't mean it has to exist. You believe what they saw, and that's fine. And however they describe it, whatever they saw, like, I believe them. It doesn't mean like we're all gonna find it out in the wilderness in the same way, but it exists.
You know, I'm a big believer because because I've dealt with both sides, cryptids and the paranormal, and there's some people who see like a person will probably see like a full body apparition, or they'll see another person will see like a mist, or another person will see like a shadow person, or another person will see like half of a body. And so that's what, not everybody sees the exact same thing. So, some of these stories that people come up to us, I listen to everybody, and, and I kind of go off body language when someone's talking to me about something.
Yeah.
Because I've interviewed like hundreds and hundreds of people, and you can kind of tell when someone's like bullshitting you, and when someone's they actually think what they thought they had saw, and they're telling you like a story, and you go, okay, so, and they get very emotional because like there's some people who have actually seen these cryptids, and they're not ready, they're not prepared for it. Because there's this one guy that I'm interviewing. I mean, I still talk to this very day, like 6 years, and I still counsel him a little bit, and he has night terrors like still. So, but yeah, go ahead.
So is it like most of the stories you've heard are Bigfoot specific, or is it other cryptids?
There are other stuff like, stuff that I can't explain. Like there's a couple stories that we've had where, somebody sees like a wolf crossing the road, and then they'll crawl under like a barbed wire fence, stand up, and then walk off. And I go,
that's some of my favorite stories are like the dog men that you hear about that are like wearing a plaid shirt and smoking a cigarette, and it's just like fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, because I've actually put out like cam track, because back when I used to research, I used to put out cam trackers out on a tree, and I would put it up like 7 feet up, to catch a Bigfoot, because that's what we were doing, and the video shows like a torso walking by, no head, no arms, no legs, but you could hear crunching of like the leaves, but you could just see a torso. And I go, what is that? And like we look at it, and we would like tell each other, I say, okay, write what you see, don't say it, just write it down. So everybody would like write stuff down, trade notes and stuff, and to see if we're actually seeing the exact same thing. So there's different times, and we've had different experiences and stuff. So I don't know. It's like I used to think very early on that this, like, Bigfoots were, flesh and blood, but the more that you talk to people and like paranormal comes involved, there's like a real thin line. And then you get, you end up getting more questions than like answers and stuff. So,
So have you guys had actual experiences with Bigfoot?
I've been in the field, I've taken Steven like when he was really young, and we didn't see one, right, Steven? We didn't see one, but
no.
we had gone out with this other paranormal group to go do some paranormal stuff.
I was 16 at the time, too.
Yeah, he was 16, and I took him out, and it was Big Sandy, Texas.
Yep,
Big Sandy, and we went out to Texas, and we were going with like this different paranormal group, and they were doing some research on this, all that stuff out there.
It was a cemetery, right?
Yeah, it was
Texas, or is it, what part of Texas is that?
Big Sandy. It's like East Texas.
Right.
Yeah, because East Texas is where the primary like Bigfoot sightings are.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was funny too because there were like we were just there to it was like a conference, right?
It was like a meet and greet.
A meet and greet at some sandwich shop or something like that, right?
Jason's Deli.
Yay! I love Jason's Deli. And then Luke, right? Luke goes up to you and goes, "Hey, you guys want to go with them really quick because they're going to an area where
Bigfoots are at.
There was a sighting there like recently." And we're just like, that's my Luke impression.
Luke is he was the leader of the Texas Bigfoot Research Center. He's our,
nice.
He's our mentor. And so I learned a lot off him. So we all tagged along, and after they had done their paranormal stuff, we did a couple calls and a couple tree knocks. And then within like 2 minutes, we got responses back. And I was telling Steven, I said, this doesn't always happen when the first time you go out, because it's taken me like 6 months sometimes to even get something close. So personally, we didn't see it, but this thing, it called back, and then we had a couple tree knocks, and then we had like a creek bed to our left, and someone saw some eye shine like 7 feet off the ground.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And as soon as we noticed it, we had rocks being pelted at us from across the way. So as soon as we turned to the rocks, the eye shine were gone. And so, but I've been, Steve and I both have been growled at. We've been rocks thrown at us and sticks thrown at us like in the middle of the night. We've had a cabin that we were staying at slapped in the middle of the night. There's nobody out there. So we've had a lot of stuff, but never visually seen one. So
No.
That's awesome though. Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's I remember. Do you remember the first time I went with you? It was whenever, I don't know where it was. I wish I remember. I was like 7, and you were all like, I was terrified. I was scared. I was mostly scared of the dark, right, and being out of nowhere, middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But
I think it's terrifying.
yeah, it is terrifying, especially for a 7-year-old. So Robert's over here trying to console me. He's like, "Hey, if there was a Bigfoot around, like all the crickets, all the animals that you hear right now, they're loud, would stop." As soon as he said that, they all stopped. I go, "Are you serious?" And then he was trying to backpedal. He was like, well, if it really was a Bigfoot around here, you would hear like a truck or like a train going through, and then we heard like something crashing through the woods. And I was like, oh my God, Robert, stop talking. And I forgot what it was, a raccoon.
It was a raccoon.
Oh, yeah.
So
I was like, oh dear Lord.
Yeah, I've only been camping like 3 times now, like only recently. And I remember hearing like this like scurrying and splashing around, and I was just like, oh my God, like what could that be? And it was a possum.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so amazing how a little creature, now imagine that, a little creature making that much noise, but an actual Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And that's a different story.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. I've heard like the calls, and I've heard like audio of the wood knocking and everything. And that's an entirely different situation.
yeah.
Sure.
There's, I mean, I've done so many, I'm pretty good at doing a call, and I've had call every time I've done one, I've always got a call back. We always go to an area that we don't tell people we're going. We just go and find a place and just, hunker down and just, we don't do a lot of that stuff anymore. So,
No.
So we kind of call ourselves cryptid sports entertainers.
Yep.
So
We're not in the game. We're not on the court, but we're on the sidelines.
yeah, we're in the arena.
Yeah.
So
So why did you stop going on the court?
well, I got pretty sick in 2021.
Okay.
And I was paralyzed.
Oh wow.
And
Jeez.
I was paralyzed, and my heart stopped for like 7 minutes, and they had to bring me back, and I had to learn how to walk all over again. So I kind of stopped doing that,
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. It's life changing. Whenever like you pass and you come back, and you see things a whole lot different. Like for example, like I'm huge into comics. I love comics. I had like 6,000 comics, and whenever this happened, I just sold them all. I just changed. I go, you know what? I don't really need all these 6,000 comics. I can just sell them. So I sold them. And so now we just do podcasting. But if someone were to reach out to us and ask us for help, we would go help them. So,
And I don't think we would not go to an opportunity.
Yeah.
It just has to be the right timing and
Yeah.
what we're doing. Because I told myself, I was like, we're not doing like a paranormal investigation. And we recently did that.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're here. Like, might as well go to this house. That's,
I live with Steven, and he's got 2 twin boys, and so we kind of hold stuff to our vest really close because we always believe if you're not careful, you could bring stuff home.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And you don't want to do that with like the boys. And so we've had a couple close calls. We thought we had brought something home, and we had to call our friend Scott, He's a local warlock, and he kind of helps us out from time to time. We always say if we were the Avengers, he would be our Thor. So, because he's like really powerful. Because I was in Phoenix once, and I was with my ex, and and I had something attached to me because I had this EMF reader, and it was reading like 24 milligauss, and 2 milligauss is a lot. So it was reading 24 milligauss, and it kept coming, and it wouldn't go away. So I called Scott. I go, hey man, I'm in Arizona. I said, can you help me out? He goes, hold on. And he had to pull out some stuff. He had to do some Latin chants and stuff, and it just went away. So,
yeah, if it works, it works.
Yeah. So,
and the fact that he said this, whatever was attached to you, it was nasty.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god.
So
that's always the fear.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely. So I kind of want to get into comic books too, actually, if you don't mind.
Yeah, even though you threw out all your comics. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No, I was gonna tell you because I was very interested. Like once I got a hold of Eat Your Lipstick site. I started looking at it, and like I was telling you, my older brother does a comic book, and he holds his comic book like really close to his chest. Like I couldn't talk to him about it. Like, you know, like I would ask him, I go, hey man, you know, what's going on with the comic? And he wouldn't talk that much about it because he's really busy.
Oh.
And so like just one day I just decided, I go, you know what? I wrote like a 4-issue comic book for him about his character, and I gave it to him. I just emailed it to him.
Oh, wow.
He called me the very next day. He goes, hey man, this is really good. I go, I know. I know. And he goes, can you write more? I go, yeah. And so I started, I've been writing for him. And
that's awesome.
yeah. So, but I was going to say your comics write, and you also draw it too, right?
Yeah. So I've done my own stuff for a long time, but then I've also dabbled. So I wrote and draw my own stuff, but then I also have written for other people to illustrate, which is amazing because then you just get to write like crowd scene and then they have to draw it, which is like a nightmare. But then I've also illustrated for other writers too, which is always a challenge, which I'm working on right now, is I have to illustrate for 2 writers, which is really challenging, but yeah, it's all fun.
Talk to us about Assassin Roommate.
So, yeah, that was probably my most popular comic, which I started on Webtoon back in 2017. And they were looking for American creators who had been doing comics. And so I got approached at a comic convention by my old editor, Tom Akel. And so he was just like, yeah, pitch us something. And I was like, okay, well, I have this story about assassins that I want to write. And he was like, well, it has to be romance. And I was like, well, then the assassins make out.
There you go.
Yeah. And then it was so great. And it was so easy to just, I mean, they had a very strict schedule where it was 6 months, 5 days a week, 5 pages a week. It would upload like all one day per week, but like no breaks for 6 months. And then maybe you get a month off and then you have to do the next season. And it was the best job I had because they actually paid a living wage, which is very, very rare in comics.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now they canceled the series during COVID in 2020. And then they had a lockout period. Basically for 3 years, you weren't allowed to do anything with the comic. So after that expired, so now I've been slowly re-uploading all the seasons that had already been out on Webtoon because they took it down. So I've been putting it back on my own website, and now I've been continuing it just on Patreon right now because, it's hard to afford. We're not being created anymore. So, but yeah.
Are you doing comics full time?
Yeah, comics and illustration. It's not reliable at all, but yeah, trying to hang in there because the comics market has changed so much, especially since COVID. It's been really difficult, and a lot of the companies have collapsed. Like Comixology got bought out by Amazon, and they fired everybody, and like a bunch of comics publishers that I used to know got bought out, and they fired everybody I knew. So it's difficult, but hopefully there are ways to come back. So
I wanted to ask this question, asking it because I don't know. There's not a lot of women that do writing and illustration, right?
No, there are. And just like I've been in comics for a long time. I started going to conventions in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing the difference in even 24 years there's been a lot more women and people of color and gay creators and everything. Like it's definitely changed a lot. So there are a lot. It's just like they were shut out, because everyone still, even now when I talk to people about comics, they still think Marvel and DC and that's it.
Yeah.
But independent comics, like independent comic shows, it's thriving. There's tons of women in there.
Good.
That's awesome.
What about Bonnie and Clyde, or Bonnie and Clyde?
Yeah, so I used to do roller derby back when I lived in Baltimore, and Bonnie and Clyde came out of that because when you're a roller girl, you pick a name and they have a database and throughout the whole country, and no one can have the same name as you, which I think is awesome. So I picked Bonnie and Clyde, and then for my comic name, it wasn't my roller derby name, but it was my comic name. And then I thought it was funny because I got emails from people who were like, well, Bonnie Clyde already exists in Seattle. I was like, well, this is a comic book character. And then I got permission from Bonnie Clyde herself. And I was like, it's Bonnie and Clyde. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Yeah, because it's roller derby, it's physical, right?
Yeah.
So there's a werewolf in this, right?
Yeah, it was funny. Well, so I started the comic because when I lived in Baltimore, my local newspaper was asking for comic strips. And so I had just gotten interested in roller derby. I wasn't playing yet, but I decided that was a good subject to use for a comic strip. But then I think the second issue, I introduced a werewolf. And I was like, I don't know why. Just I love werewolves. And it did not get into the paper. And then I just kept doing it. And because of that, though, I got the attention of Oni Press. So I was able to transfer that into an actual comic with an actual publisher and but I still do, Bonnie is still my own independent stuff, but yeah, it's great. It's roller girls and werewolves.
So the newspapers don't like werewolves.
Apparently not. Yeah, they weren't into it. I don't know why.
What a bunch of punks.
I know. Well, and it's funny, even with my comic, I do it twice a week on my Patreon page still. And there was a time where I was getting too much into the werewolf stuff, and they were like, "What? I like this, but can we go back to the roller derby stuff?"
How long did you do the actual roller derby?
I did it for a year and a half.
It's pretty tough, isn't it?
Yeah, and I didn't know how to skate, so I was 29 and I had to learn how to skate, and I was terrified of roller skating. So it took me a year to learn how to skate well enough to actually get on the league. And then I was in it for over a year. But the thing is, roller derby is really intense. At least it was when I played it. It was you have to practice 4 times a week, otherwise you're going to get killed. So it was a huge time commitment. And then they made me head of the art department. And so that was a huge other commitment. And it was just it was a lot, but it was super fun. But I'm so glad for the experience. And it changed a lot after I left. It became a lot more regimented and everything. So I'm glad that I had the experience that I did while I was in there. But yeah.
Because I do recall as a kid, we would see it on TV.
Yeah.
And it was like the lanes were elevated a little bit, and they had railings around it.
Yeah, that was a bank track. Yeah, I played flat track. So bank track, they only have it, I think, in Texas and LA.
Wow.
Still.
And so,
is that harder?
Yeah, because I would see girls going over the rail.
Well, that's a whole other level. But you are actually slower when you're on the bank track because of the elevation of it. So it's harder to pick up speed. And flat track is you get faster, but it's not as scary, I would think, as flipping over the rail. I don't know. I've never played it. track. So
Well, I have to commend you for putting out the effort and doing it, and that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was the perfect combination of everything I wanted. I wanted to meet women in the community. I wanted to be on a sports team. I wanted to wear makeup, wear fishnets, like have something that was cheesy and fun and get to hit people. It was just perfect.
Yeah, I like your style.
It's a cool style.
I was gonna tell you also. You have a doppelganger.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. One of my friends that I used to work with. I used to work at USBC. It's United States Bowling Congress. It's like the governing body for all of bowling in Arlington, Texas. And the lady that ran the museum there, her name is Jessica Bell, and she's on my friends list. And I messaged her. I go, "Hey, you have a doppelganger, Monica Gallagher." And she and I sent her your Facebook link, and she messaged me back, "Sir." So, but you look just like her. I swear.
Oh no. Was she offended? That's the worst.
I don't think she was, but she's real sassy with me, even if I, nice to her like anyway. But so
Yeah, just send her an Ace of Base song.
yeah, she doesn't like Ace of Base, and I used to send her like Ace of Base links all the time, and so. But anyway,
Yeah.
So I saw on here also you had the Biggest Bigfoot.
The biggest.
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
So that was a comic I started a few years ago because I wanted to do a comic about cryptids, and that was before I did the whole states run.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, yeah, like Bigfoot in Texas is obviously going to be the biggest Bigfoot because everything's bigger in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made it kind of it's a little bit of like a road trip comic about Bigfoot, and this kind of crosses the line, and we should talk about it. Like when you were saying that, it's always that discussion of Bigfoot terrestrial versus Bigfoot, more metaphysical, paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to like kind of blend the two things and have him go around Texas and kind of introduce all the different Texas cryptids that I'd researched. But then it stalled out, but I'm going to restart it because I still really want to do it. I just, I made it, the style that I decided to do initially was way too time consuming. And so now I need to like pare it back.
Right.
I was doing like watercolor and I was doing all this stuff.
I was about to say, I like it. I like how
Yeah.
you made his head look like a tree.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. I like the one where, I don't know which one it was, but it was the one with the magnifying glass.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like trying to duck under it, like not to get spotted.
Right.
I did like that one. I was like, oh, okay, I like that. It looks like a tree, but with the magnifying glass.
I think I saw your artwork a long time ago. You had a picture of a Bigfoot and some other cryptids just all hanging out together.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that's the first thing that I actually saw of yours. And then, but once my older brother told me about you, I started researching more.
Is that the one where they're all in a line?
I think they were kind of clustered together.
Yeah, but in a line, like from left to right.
I believe so. I'm not sure. Monica?
I think you.
Well, yeah, I did a Cryptids in the Woods print that's based on an old, it's like a 70s, kind of like, what's the name of is it Smokey the Bear? The one who was like a mascot? Yeah. So it's based on that. It was basically like, because it was like, remember there are babes in the woods. So I did remember there are cryptids in the woods. And so I did Bigfoot, Chupacabra. I did like a Pukwudgie. I did a fairy. I did Chupacabra. I did a bunch of them like kind of clustered together in that same style. Yeah.
So I think I saw that like a while back. And what I always try to do with because I have a page on Facebook, and I try to give the artist like credit all the time whenever I find stuff. And so I always put their name on there. And at that time I couldn't find I go, who's this artist? I go, I want to find out who this artist is. I go, dang it. And then like after my brother told me about you, I said, that's who it is, Monica. So I have a folder that I hope you don't mind that I'm going to post on the page, and I'm always going to give you credit. And you want me to put your link on there too? I'll do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Cause because I post about 7 pictures a day all the time, and then I post our podcast stuff too on there too. So, but I try to keep it interactive all the time,
Post the one with the magnifying glass.
Yeah. So,
Great.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
I saw this on here, and I'm really interested in this cancer comics.
Yeah. So I had breast cancer in 2017. That's when I was diagnosed. So I did, like, during my whole journey with it, I made comics, and yeah, if I hadn't done them, I don't think I would remember what happened, because most people block it out. And I've talked to a lot of survivors that they don't remember anything. And so even looking back on it surprises me. But yeah, I did like a series of autobio comics about it, hopefully to, kind of normalize it and get people, like, there's this horrible stigma that we have where we're just like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but never talk to me. Like, I don't want to know what you're actually going through. So I tried to, like, break it down in a way that was kind of funny, but also,
informative.
Scary. Yeah, informative and scary. And I've gotten really great feedback about it. But I put it on my site. I did it initially on my Patreon, and it was just great because it was a way for people to connect with me. But then after I got through it, I had a friend who, he had been through cancer, but he had pancreatic cancer. And so he made a comic about it, and he was like, I'm done. I'm healed. I have a comic about it. And then he died. And so, because pancreatic cancer is like
it's
one
tough.
of the worst.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I've always had that superstition that I'm like, I'm just going to put it on my site for free. I'm never going to make a book out of it. Like, everyone could read it,
Right.
hopefully gain something from it, but I am never going to be like, oh, I'm done. Like, I'm just never going to do that. So
that's pretty brave of you. I don't know a lot of people who actually did that. So,
I mean, when it's your one way of kind of connecting with people and expressing it, and I've been lucky enough that I've had people come up to me and talk to me about it and say, like, you said certain things that I experienced, but I would never talk about it with people.
I love that.
That was huge. Yeah. So
I love that. I can just tell you from my own experience, before I got sick, I had cancer in my colon, and they removed like 6 inches of my colon out. And during that surgery, I think I got a bacteria, and it was Guillain-Barré. And like within 3 weeks later, my legs and my arms started getting numb, and it started traveling up my body, and and it traveled up to my chest. And luckily I was in the hospital when it happened, and they did CPR on me for 7 minutes, and they brought me back, and I was in a coma for 2 days. I was in a respirator for 7 or 8 days, and had to learn how to walk all over again. And so I can relate. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could do a comic book and talk about that. That is just me. It's just, but I love that about that. I saw that and I went straight to it, and I was reading it. And I go, oh my God, we have to talk to this woman. We got to talk to her.
There's something, and I was just talking to people about this today. There's something special about, if you go through something like that, you understand, you have more empathy than people who have not gone through that. Like, you understand that you look death in the face, and you're appreciative that you're still here. Like, you have so much like gratitude. Like, my husband's a vet, and so he's like experienced like multiple near-death scenarios, and it's just, it makes you a better person.
It does.
It sucks that you have to go through that.
Yeah, I know whenever I went through mine, my mom was really mad at the hospital, and she wanted to sue them. And I was telling her, I said, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to, because at that time I wanted to project all the positive toward my getting better. So I told my mom, I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go any negative. I would just want to portray that out, because I was telling her, I said, what if God put me through this because I was going to get into a wreck, or I was going to get robbed, and this is the way of him humbling me to be a better person. And so once that happened, and I got better and I was able to walk again, I went to everybody that I felt that I've done wrong to, and I apologized to them. And I said,
Oh,
man,
wow.
I'm sorry. I didn't treat you fairly, you know, because I went to like 2 jobs ago, and I went to this one dude that I used to argue with all the time, and I told him, man, I'm sorry. I didn't treat you fairly, and I feel like I did you wrong. And I go, do you forgive me? He goes, yeah, of course. And we hugged and stuff. And so it was just, you know, it was just tough because I could understand. And once I saw that comic book for you, it just, man, it, you know, it just made me feel good. I mean, I said, man, I love that she's doing this. And if it can just touch one person,
Right. Yeah.
and it's worth it. Right.
Yeah. And that's the power of any kind of storytelling, is that the more honest you are, the more people identify with it, which I didn't understand. I thought the more specific you were, the less people would identify with it. But once I was diagnosed, I made a little comic about it. And then so many people I knew came out of the woodwork and told me they had similar experiences, and I had no idea.
Right.
And then, I mean, make no mistake, when I was going through it, I was so angry. Like, I was so pissed off.
Yeah.
And so depressed and like everything. But it really, when you come out of it still being so grateful,
Yes.
you know, like, despite everything you went through, you're just like, well, and I'm sure like with what you went through, but like I saw so many people in the cancer ward that had it so much worse than me.
Yeah.
It's just like you're appreciative, even though you went through shit, and you still hold on to that like bitchy mean girl side where you're just like, well, fuck, why did this ever happen to me? But it's also like, well, I could have been like that asshole over there, and like that's so much worse. So yeah, it's a weird balance, but I think it's a good way to experience the human experience.
Yeah. I wanted to ask this, do you think that this experience has made you a better writer or a better artist?
I don't know. It's made me a better human, but I don't know if it's made me a better, because I had a day job for 15 years that I was slowly like kind of weaning off of because I'd been doing comics throughout, but I wasn't able to quit my day job. And then I was able to quit it. And then a month later I got cancer. So I was like,
Insurance and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And it was my dream job. And I was like, oh, fuck, like, this is what I've been hoping for. But I had friends who helped me like color the comic and do all this stuff. And so I like the first season of Assassin Roommate is while I was in chemo. And so it means a lot to me that like I can see, like, that was all I was focused on. I was like, I have something to focus on. I have something I can do. So yeah, I think having something besides just writing about your own experience, because sometimes that can be, you know, can make it worse for you, but
Yeah.
have something you can focus on that's creative, that can definitely help get you out of it.
I love that. I love that about you.
Yeah, I don't know if I can done all that.
Yeah.
I would try to run away from it as far away from it as possible.
Yeah.
Writing about it.
Yeah.
That's facing it head on.
Yeah.
Literally.
That's super, super brave. And like,
I mean, it's still like, I definitely still had a fuck you attitude about it. I was still so angry. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, I think a lot of people will feel anger and fear at the same time because you're angry. It's your own body. It's your own,
right.
You know, so of course you're going to be angry at your body. I'm pretty sure Robert, he'll probably tell you the same thing. Like, you know, he was probably, there were many moments where he had a breakdown in front of me.
Yeah. And I never broke down in front of him before. And
yeah. And I'm pretty sure, you know, in his mind, like, man, a couple of weeks ago, I was walking.
Yeah.
I was doing this. I was doing like the most simplest things you take for granted whenever you can physically move.
Yeah.
Going to the bathroom, you know, getting up to, you know, dance or whatever.
Feeding
yourself, stuff like that. Bathing yourself, all the basic stuff that we really take for granted. And, you know, it's taken away from you like that. And now you're in this bed. Like he was in the bed, just like he had a hard time moving. And yeah, it was just one of those things where he had to relearn. And
yeah,
he really put it into overdrive, you know, the physical therapist said, let's do 1 hour. He would do 2 hours.
Yeah.
You do 3 hours and he will do 6 hours. He would literally do it until he was out of breath.
Yeah. It was like, they had told me, Monica, like 2 years to walk. And I said, fuck that. I'm going to shatter it. I did it under 6 months.
Yep.
And so,
do you think that's something that you had in you, or do you think that's the people around you, or do you think it's both? Or?
I think it was like a little bit of both because like whenever I was breaking down in front of Steven, and I'd never done it before, cause like I've kind of raised him and I've always trying to like been that rock for him. And then when I broke down in front of him, I was telling him, I go, I can't do it. It's too hard. And he was telling me, he goes, man, you can do it. You're the strongest person I know. Mm-hmm. And then he would bring his boys in to see me. And
they were like, what? Like,
4? Yeah.
And
like it was so funny, Monica. Cause like I had a diaper on cause I couldn't go to the restroom by myself.
Yeah.
And I had a blanket over me, and Sebastian, his youngest, would walk in. He goes, why are you wearing a diaper? Yeah. That's what he would tell me. And I go, how does he know I got a diaper on?
Yeah.
They're so real. Yeah.
they just know. And they would be on the, like, cause it was a hospital bed at first, and they would be on the floor, like, playing with their cars.
Yeah. So once
I
saw them, I was pretty motivated. I go, fuck this. I'm going to do it.
Yep.
So the great thing about kids too, is that they just accept everything. There's no judgment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you have people that you expected to be there and they weren't there, and then people that you didn't expect to be there were there?
I definitely had people who were afraid of me, but the majority of people were just like kind of, and people who had never been through anything like that, they were just like, okay, give me a task. I'm going to do this one thing. And so it was just, they broke it down in a nice way, because like, for me, it was overwhelming. It was like, okay, I have 6 months of chemo. Like, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
Like I had a cat. And so I had a friend who lived across the street who was like, I will handle the cat litter, because I wasn't allowed to touch it. And then I had a friend who like, did other stuff. And my parents took me to every treatment, even though they didn't have to, they just wanted to. But it was, everyone just, they tried to, in a really nice way, they tried to normalize it as much possible. Because I remember one of my favorite stories when I was going through chemo was I would walk all the time, because that was like the only exercise I could do. And so I would walk to the grocery store, and but I'd have to put on like a human face when I went outside, because my skin was so dry and disgusting. And so I would try to put on all this makeup and try to look like a human, and wear a hat. And I went to the grocery store, and I thought I was looking normal, like everything was good. And then the cashier, when I was checking out at the grocery store, she said something nice to me, and I smiled, and then like my lips cracked, and then just like blood ran down my face.
Oh my God.
And she looked at it, was like I was a vampire. I was like trying to put on this like human face. And it's so funny to look back on, but I was like, God damn it. Like, why did she like make me laugh? And then like, just like, she was so horrified.
Did you see her face whenever you did?
Yes, I did see her face.
Oh Lord.
It's still like, but that's the kind of stuff that you have to laugh at, like looking back at it.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I love the fact that you're sharing all this stuff with us, and like we always talk about we're a Bigfoot podcast, but we love to talk about other stuff, and
oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So
we're not secluded into one.
Yeah.
So in fact, some of our listeners will message us like, "Y'all been going like 4 episodes and haven't talking about Bigfoot not once."
Yeah. Where's the Bigfoot? Where's the big feet? Where's the back?
Yeah.
So I think we're also the only Bigfoot podcast that always talk about Bigfoot schlong.
Yep.
So I've actually had multiple stories of Bigfoot schlongs, and then we had our friend Matt had a story of a teabagging one, and we had that, and so we interviewed this one guy, and I asked him, I go, hey, did you see the schlong? And he goes, oh yeah, I saw it.
No, it was the I think I know what you're talking about. This is whenever it was a big, was it male, female? It was a male. Oh, you could tell. He goes, oh yeah, you can tell. Yeah.
think guys like look out for that on purpose? They're just like,
It's just
they just look down. They're just-
It's just like one of those things because I'm always interested in extra stuff. Like people always say, I saw a Bigfoot cross the road, or I saw one like walking up a mountain. I say, okay, I'm interested like in behavior. I'm interested in facial expressions. I'm interested in like whatever they're eating. If you saw them eating something, I'm interested in. So if you're able to tell me if it's a female or a male, I'm interested in it. And so we always talk about that all the time. So, but I think we're the
I
only.
love that they're just like Bigfoot had a big dick.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
You're here to I had this one lady was telling us the story, and I said this a bunch of times that she was being visited by a Bigfoot at night. This was in Kentucky. And I said, well, she says, he wants to have sex with me. I go, how do you know? She goes, I could see him walking down the mountain and his penis was glowing.
Oh no.
And I go, what? And like, I talked to my mentor, Luke Gross. I go, is that possible? He goes, oh yeah. There's phosphorescent mushrooms. A Bigfoot could grab it and, touch his penis, and yep, it can happen.
There's been a big thing about that too. Like, how do you guys feel about like the invisibility of Bigfoot, and like, has a different genetic makeup where he can become invisible, like a lot of animals can. And I'm not saying that Bigfoot is terrestrial, because I don't necessarily believe that.
Whenever I first started with the TBRC, we were into like flesh and blood completely, and then I left the group in 2002 because there was a guy on there that I didn't really get along with, Craig Woolheater. So I left. I just want to say his name out. So I left that group and I started doing my own thing. So I started because whenever you're in a group, Monica, you're kind of limited on what kind of questions you can ask, because they kind of limit you on, okay, you can't ask this, you can't ask, if it's if a Bigfoot stepped out of a UFO or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, at that time they believed in flesh and blood, and that's it. And so the more I got onto my own, I was talking to Native American, I was talking to Choctaw, I was talking to Caddo Indians.
Oh yeah, they've always believed that he's a nature spirit. Yeah.
So one of the guys I've interviewed, he used to be a wrestler, and so I think he wrestled Andre the Giant one time.
Nice.
And so he told me this Bigfoot that he saw was 2 Andre the Giants, like shoulder to shoulder.
Holy shit.
And so he said when it stepped into the woods, and he says all these trees that were there, they were skinny trees. So once it stepped into the woods, he said, this is his words, the woods swallowed it up. And so he said he could hear it, but he couldn't see it. He could see trees moving, and like it shadowed him out of this area. But he said he couldn't see it. And so once he told me that, it stuck with me. And so Bigfoot people who believe that Bigfoots are like go to portals or they can disappear, that's called the woo. Mm-hmm. And then that's the woo community. And then there's the regular Bigfoot community. So they're always fighting about that. But being in like in the paranormal world and also being in the Bigfoot world, I think they kind of collide a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. Yeah. There's that whole thing too about tulpas. Like,
yep.
presenting as what you want it to.
Mm-hmm. So, I get more questions than answers and stuff. So I listen to everybody, and I try to, give everybody an audience, and I let our listeners decide whether it's true or not. I just provide like the platform to do it. Mm-hmm. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. You've been doing it for so long, and that you've kind of gained all this knowledge and expanded it beyond, being regimented and like, yeah.
So, I know we kind of got off comic books.
That's okay.
I want.
It's lovely to have a real conversation with people who've been through real shit. So I appreciate.
No. I mean, I'm still nervous having you on. So, because I've seen you like on other shows, and because I've been listening to other podcasts this week on you.
Oh, nice.
So I saw the PBS one that you just posted recently. So I saw that one.
She was on PBS?
Yeah.
She was on PBS.
Interviews are always awkward.
I can see why you were nervous now.
What?
I said, she was on PBS? I can see why you were nervous. Now I'm nervous.
My friend gave me a very honest commentary. He was like, your voice sounded nice, but he said liking them all the time. I was like,
Oh God.
Yeah.
I did.
It's like this and like this and like that. I don't know.
Was he a rapper?
Yeah. That's just. I think we were really like well, you were really tough on yourself because you were like, I do this a lot. I say I say
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's a you do that in real conversations too, so it's a real conversation. It's not
Right.
Yeah, because we used to have a script whenever we would interview people, and then I got on this show called Porch Matters. Terry Kegel, and he just has a conversation. Like I said, hey, you have questions? He goes, nope, just a conversation, Robert. I said, okay,
that's a really good
yeah,
impression of
thanks. And so I kind of adapted that. So we don't have a script. We just wanted to talk to you and just have a conversation. So
I think that's great. Yeah.
I will say this. I want to say it before I forget, Monica. You would think that, I guess, like when it comes to cryptids, like Bigfoot, Mothman, Loch Ness, UFOs, they're like really. I would say they're overrated. But do you think that there is like a favorite of yours, like a cryptid that's underrated that not many people talk about? You're all like, I really like this other cryptid that no one really talks about. Do you have one of those?
It's so hard, honestly, because I've done so many now, and I just started. I'm gonna start filming videos that I'm going through the like ABCs of American cryptids specifically. So I listed them all out, all the ones that I've covered in all my prints alphabetically. So I'm going through all of them because it's a nice smattering. So it's not you're just focusing on one state or another. You're just kind of going through a mixture of them. But there's so many that people have not heard of.
Is there one that you were just like, what? Like really like
There's so many that I'm just like, what? Well, one of my favorites, but people have heard, I don't know, people have heard of this one a lot, is the knot deer. Do you guys know about the knot?
Yes.
I have not heard of it.
I've heard of it.
I have not.
That's one of my favorites.
He's doing
They're
a
just like, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a deer. You know, just
Yeah.
didn't act like a deer. It acted like something pretending to be a deer. which
So wouldn't you say that's a skinwalker though?
No, Skinwalker, I think it's specific to Navajo culture.
Oh yeah.
And it's more like, I mean, it can be. I mean, like, I think there is a line between people mistake like skinwalkers and not deer and like Wendigo. They kind of like blend. It's just something that looks weird. That's like walking around trying to pretend to be something else.
Yeah. One of my favorites is the Fresno Walkers.
Yeah, the Nightcrawler. Yeah, the pants.
Yeah,
pants.
That's freaky.
Those are creepy.
What was the one I was telling you about? That I was like, it's a Bigfoot. It was the one that it's like a creature that hides behind the tree.
The hide behind.
The hide behind.
Yeah.
So I'm all like, isn't that a Bigfoot? And Robert's like,
Bigfoot with a portal.
that's a Bigfoot. It's a. Let's just say it's not. Let's just say it's an evil Bigfoot. Oh crap.
Yeah, because I always tell people, Monica, I go, Bigfoots are like ass, just like everybody. They're like, there's Bigfoot assholes, and there's nice Bigfoots. There's Bigfoots that are mean, and there's Bigfoots that are nice.
There's
So-
Bigfoots
There's the
that
ones
give
are
to the
gonna
community.
bludgeon you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bigfoots that give to the community that gives you those shiny rocks.
yeah.
And then there's
There's a great one in Texas, which it's not unique to Texas, but I think it came from the loggers. There's a lot that come from like the logging community in the early 1900s, but the Gwinther, have you heard of the Gwinther?
Winter.
Yeah, so it's that's the Texas version of it, but it's basically like it's kind of like a goat that has one side of its legs are shorter than the other, and it just walks up hills and it can only go in one direction because its legs are shorter on one side than the other one. And it has like a corkscrew nose, but it would just like chase around, but it could only go in one direction. So the only way to get it was to like chase it in the opposite direction.
I like it.
I would say that.
So weird. Yeah.
That poor Bigfoot, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Man.
Yeah.
That's
One of the ones I kind of like too is on yours is the Dark Watchers. That's kind of creepy.
Yes. I love the Dark Watchers.
So it's
That to me
kind
is so creepy.
yeah. It looks like an evil villain. That's what it looks like. His silhouette.
But they're huge. They're like as big as mountains.
Are they really?
oh,
Yeah.
hell
They
no.
just see them off in the distance, like these giant silhouettes of people. And I feel like that might be more alien related. I don't know.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. So,
But creepy as hell.
so are you gonna incorporate some of these cryptids in some of your comics?
Yeah, I want to. So I'm starting out with this video series where I'm just going through them alphabetically to kind of. I'm doing like an intro basically on them as I draw the cryptid, and so I'm just going through them. But yeah, I kind of want to reboot Biggest Bigfoot and do it because in a less labor intensive way.
Yeah.
And, yeah, because I love exploring like, one cryptid going around and meeting all the other cryptids and kind of bringing them together.
Going off subject here a little bit. Is your comics, are they all like in the same universe? The Bonnie and Clyde and the rest of your comics?
Roommate.
It was funny when I did Assassin Roommate, I made the pizza, like the pizza brand was the same as Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's so...
Some people caught that. But that was really, I think I did one piece of fan art where it was Bonnie and Mags from Assassin Roommate. And they're like,
nice.
Why do you keep drawing like busty redheads? I was like, I don't know.
There's a problem with that?
I know, exactly. Like, what? Why is that wrong?
My older brother has, like I was telling you, he's got a comic book, El Gato Negro, which actually is going to be on Amazon on a TV series. So,
nice.
Yeah, he got that, and like he wants me to start writing for him. So I want to expand his universe. So I wanted.
Oh, do it.
Yeah, because his main thing is just, he doesn't have any powers. He's just a crime fighter. He fights coyotes and like cartel guys.
He's like Daredevil.
And so I wrote a story and I started incorporating like characters with like not a lot of powers with some powers, and I've incorporated some of that stuff, and I want to do that with his stuff. And his main label is Azteca Productions. And so he asked me, there's this the Aztec god Tonatu, sun god. And so he asked me, he goes, hey, can you write this story? I go, yeah. And I go, yeah. But then he gave me like 15 characters to put in, and I go, oh my God. Oh. So how am I supposed to write what an Aztec sun god is supposed to sound like?
Well, that's the thing too, is like I haven't gotten, like once I finished the United States, I started doing the US protectorates like Puerto Rico, and I did American Samoa, and then I started doing some Canadian ones, but I haven't gotten to Latin America. But yeah, man, that'd be great if you explored like Latin American cryptids.
Okay. Yeah.
We were talking about doing that, like, because I wanted to go over like cryptids like in the Philippines.
Yeah, Stephen.
Philippines are like fucked up.
Yeah, that's where I heard. I wanted to start off strong with that.
Yeah, because Stephen had the idea of us talking about other cryptids in other countries. I said, yeah, I go pick them. Let's go. Let's talk about it. Because we end up doing like interviews with people, the eyewitnesses, and we talk to other podcasters. We talk to other artists, and but we want to expand out, and because that's part of the reasons why I wanted to get you on, because you were illustrating so many other cryptids. I said, man, this is amazing. And I'm not saying this because you're on our show, but your artwork is great. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
So
yeah, it's one of the most fascinating things is there are things like the Aswang comes from, I think, the Philippine like cryptid mythology. The Aswang is like, I have it on my, I think, Arizona, but it's just like a torso flying vampire. And I think it comes from the Philippines. So it's like people brought all this shit over to us.
Yes.
And it became a different thing, but like exploring what it actually was in their own home countries is fascinating. Yeah.
Do you think people bring it over like you were saying earlier, like with a topa and stuff?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Like before Neil Gaiman was exposed as a piece of shit, like American Gods was a great book about people coming here and bringing their own gods and getting like bastardized. Yeah. Sorry, I had to say he's a piece of shit.
No, you're fine. Do you listen to music while you're drawing or illustrating?
It depends. I can only listen to music when I'm writing, and then when I'm actually like drawing and I don't have to think anymore, then I can listen to podcasts.
Okay.
So yeah.
What are you listening to?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Oh gosh.
Rush?
I don't know. Like, yeah, it's just all Rush all the time.
I love it.
I only know Tom Sawyer. Yeah, City Rush fan. Even though my brother was a drummer and he was super obsessed with Rush.
Okay.
No, I listen to a variety of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It depends.
Gotcha.
It's pretty lame. Yeah, but
Do you do the old style or do you do the digital?
for music?
No, I'm sorry, for art.
Oh, well, I used to do traditional until not that long ago. I guess it was probably around 2020. I used to pencil everything by hand and ink it with a brush and then scan it and color it. And now I do everything digital for the most part.
You know, what do you like more?
Well, digital's easier because I can resize stuff because I always make hands too big for some reason. So I can fix that. But I do miss inking with a brush, but I also see, especially in Assassin Roommate, I did that all with a brush.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see when the brush was starting to fail me and how it looked. Because it's the best. If you have a good brush and you have good inking, it's like the best feeling. But when it starts to like crap out on you, it's a terrible, terrible feeling.
Yeah.
Like it shows, damn it.
You can do the digital stuff like on a plane. You can go anywhere you want to, right? You can just do it there, right? You can.
Exactly. Yeah. But it will never be the same.
Yeah.
As doing it by hand, unfortunately. So
I love that you do both. That's awesome. My older brother does that as well. I think he does characters at like parties and stuff.
yeah,
He does it by hand and then he does it like on digital stuff too. So
that's really hard. It's good to keep your foot in both areas because I have been to conventions where people have asked me to do commissions, which I used to do all the time. And now when I have to do them, I'm terrified because it's been so long.
But you're so good.
Oh, thank you.
Do you allow yourself to like when you're in the mood to draw, create art or stuff like that? Do you like, okay, I'm going to do a serious one and then I'm going to do like a silly one, like just right off the bat? Like, do you allow yourself to imagine to go like to do that?
Kind of, yeah. Like the problem is that I always feel like I have to draw stuff that will either make money or be for something.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorite things is I can't watch a movie, I can't watch a TV show without taking pictures of everything and then trying to draw it later. It's relaxing to draw faces for some reason. So I constantly, that's like a fun thing that I do.
Because I think whenever you do cryptids, you're on a certain style.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you do like, Assassin Roommate, that's a different style.
Yeah. And that's a fun thing for artists to do too, is to try to challenge yourself to, because you're always going to have your own style no matter what, which I think a lot of younger creatives don't understand. They always ask me, how do you get your style? It's like, well, it's going to be there no matter what. Like it's going to develop. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to, you can have influences and you can try, but you're going to develop your own style and it's going to be unique to you no matter what. But if you want to do different styles, that's a fun challenge, but it's still going to look like yours.
The reason I was asking that is because I'm going to bring this up is like, I think it's one of my favorite stories of my uncle, Richard, who, your other brothers, they were drinking a lot of Coke when they were kids. And Richard, he drew a comic book of them being like taken by actual Coca-Cola, like bottles, like they were like a race.
It was like an army. Yeah.
An army. And then they were in a courtroom. Like he drew like them in a courtroom. And then like the Coke judge was like, we banish you.
You drink too much Coke.
You drink too much Coke. And they drew like, he drew both of them in like a pool of Coke. And
like
stuff,
a big vat. It was getting filled with Coke.
And then,
you love Coke this much, you're going to love it more.
And then they were like, we love Coke, but not this much. And I remember you were telling me, I was laughing.
Yeah.
I was like, I wish he would have kept that.
No, because like my older brother would tease my other brothers and draw them and he would show them and they would just tear it up. Because they would get so mad. I go, no, and they would just tear it up. I go, what the hell?
Oh man! But stuff like that, I was like, I wish I was an artist because I would draw something like silly like that.
Yeah,
And I think that's so amazing that he was able to, I'm going to create this whole scenario of that. And I think that's awesome.
That's the thing too, though, is that I think kids are either encouraged or discouraged at a certain time in their life to draw or not draw.
Yeah.
So I always want to encourage people, however old you are, like just draw it, even if it's like a shitty sketch, like just draw it and then take it to someone if you want it to be something else. But you can definitely visualize it yourself.
Yeah. My older brother's like, he's 10 years older than I am. And he's always been a good artist. He's always been drawing. He's been tinkering. And so when I was a kid, I used to tinker too. I think I'm pretty decent. I'm a pretty decent artist, but I'm nowhere near he is. And I think my creative outlook is just telling stories. So,
you can do both. I've seen you draw.
Yeah, I think I could, but I'm 54 and it's like I'm late in the game. And
one of the amazing things that your style of drawing, and I think you copied it a lot, or you were influenced by like definitely some comic books. But when you draw, like I think you drew a Bigfoot, you drew like an amazing jawline.
Yeah,
for him, and I was like, that's like a Batman jawline or Superman jawline.
Yeah,
and you have a picture of that somewhere. I don't know where it was.
It's Bigfoot Wayne.
Yeah, Bigfoot Wayne. Yeah, Bigfoot Kent. But I was like, man, what? This Bigfoot has a really big jaw.
Well, I'm just going off descriptions.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome.
Monica, I think, man, I feel like we have more questions for you, but we've been going like an hour and 11 minutes.
Yeah, this has been so great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Such a fun conversation.
How can our listeners find your material?
Well, I have a website which is called eatyourlipstick.com, and then I'm on Instagram under Monica Comics, and I also have a Patreon, which is under my name, Monica Gallagher. But yeah, that's primarily where I am. And I'm doing a whole series on a Texas serial killer right now, which is fun. It's a whole comic book series.
Is that the Matra?
Yeah, that's the Matra. Yeah, which is awesome.
Oh,
so
we didn't even get a chance to talk about that.
The Kickstarter is almost done. Luckily, thank God it's funded. But
we would love to have you back on to talk about that.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because we're just starting the first issue, so it's supposed to be 6 issues.
Are you drawing this?
Yeah, I'm drawing it. Yeah, there's two guys in Texas who are writing it, David Bowles and Drew Edwards.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
awesome.
God, I just feel like we didn't even touch the surface on this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, no, this was so lovely because we actually had a real conversation.
Yes. Thank you for coming on. Have a good night. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
If you are listening to us for the first time, thank you. If you are a regular listener, double thank you. Please subscribe, comment, like, follow, and give us a 5-star review. It really helps us provide quality content for you. If you have any stories you would like to share or concerns, please email us at bigfootclub1@gmail.com.